I honestly think that the Philippines is one of the best places in the world to bike. Obviously, the Philippines is a beautiful place to bike, especially if you get out of the city. You can find like farmlands, coastal roads, mountain views, even jungles. And the weather is sunny all year round, so it gets really hot. Unless it rains, because when it rains, it can get interesting. You just need to make sure to get out of the cities. The big cities in the Philippines, they are not made with cycling in mind. In the cities, you can expect small congested roads, hardly any bike lanes, and in some cases, no pedestrian lanes also. Lots of cars and a generally chaotic environment. So, if you can, stay away from the cities. See the guy in the wheelchair? Cebu is the worst for disabled people, I swear. We gotta do better, Cebu. But if you do find yourself in the city, you can take solace in the fact that drivers here tend to be more attentive. We are used to the chaos of the road. We're used to motorcycles, bikes, pedestrians, dogs, chickens, and all sorts of things on the road. And the cars tend to be slow moving, especially compared to places like America. So it's generally safer. I mean, if you get hit by a car, maybe you won't die. You might just get a big bruise or something. Which means the most ideal places to bike are away from the cities. You can expect fresh air, beautiful views, and if you see a hill, it's probably gonna be very, very steep. Can't see it. So freaking steep. In fact, if you do a quick YouTube search about cycling in the Philippines, you're quickly gonna find videos showcasing how steep the hills are. It's hard to find climbs that are like 7, 8, 15-kilometer climbs here in the Philippines, for example. But we do have plenty of short, steep climbs, like a 2-kilometer climb that averages in the teens, which can be pretty difficult to overcome. Unfortunately, this means that if you are a new cyclist and you are not used to climbing up hills, cycling in the Philippines can be a bit difficult. But if you do have the fitness, the rewards are worth it.
I was right? I was like, it's gonna get harder from here. I'm glad I have, what is this, 50 in the back? Oh yeah, proper mountain bike gearing.
One of the underrated aspects of the Philippines is that there's people everywhere. It might feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're gonna find someone there. You might be climbing up this really steep, long hill and you're at the top and it doesn't seem like there's anybody there, and you might even be running out of food, running out of water, and then you turn the corner and there's a little shop selling food, water, maybe they'll even have a Coke. These are generally called sari-sari stores here, and they are everywhere. And Filipinos tend to be very helpful and friendly, so it's usually a nice interaction with most people here. So even though I'm prepared for most of my bike rides, I'm really not worried too much about running out of food or water. But you do need to be prepared about Philippine roads though. Before we talk about Philippine roads, let me introduce you to Curve Coffee collaborators, this episode's sponsor. Cycling and coffee go hand in hand. So if you happen to be visiting the Philippines, why don't you get a bag of Curve Coffee collaborators coffee? They have award-winning coffees from the recent Philippine Coffee Quality Competition, and they are one of the few coffee brands partnering with farmers to elevate Philippine coffee. In fact, they've decided to name the beans after the farmers who harvested them. Yep, these are the actual names and faces of the people behind the beans. Suffice to say that I am really proud to be partnering with Curve, and you gotta visit their website curve.coffee and grab yourself a couple of bag of beans. Thank you, Curve, for sponsoring this episode. Okay, now let's talk about Philippine roads. Philippine roads can be a little strange. You might find yourself in this beautiful, pristine tarmac road. It could be freshly cemented and it's just really smooth, not a bump in sight, and then you take a left turn and all of a sudden you're in a gravel road. It's fair to say that Philippine roads are unpredictable. Unless you're familiar with the area, you might want to bring a bike that can handle various road conditions. Also, continuing on the theme of unpredictable, in the Philippine roads, of course you're gonna find a lot of crappy roads, a lot of roads with potholes, but at least those potholes don't move. Because here, you need to watch out for little animals like dogs, chickens, ducks, snakes, all sorts of furry little animals crossing the road, and these guys are unpredictable. It's not unusual to find them crossing the road and all of a sudden turning back and heading straight for your front wheel. So be careful when bombing those downhills. When you think of the Philippines, you generally think about white sand and beaches. And you can take advantage of that on your rides. One of my favorite things to do is to bike to the vacation spot. Head over there. It's usually a hot bike ride. It's usually pretty long. And then as soon as I get there, get off the bike and go straight to the water. That feeling of floating in the water right after a super hot bike ride is unbeatable. You should do that. So if you've wondered what it might be like to bike in the Philippines, come on over, or you can watch many of the ride videos that I've done through the years to just give you a sense of what it might be like. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to No Boring Days.